Hello and welcome to today's Student CPD session on Schedules of Success. I almost feel as though I should start this video with a warning that there isn't a guaranteed pathway to success, but there are an awful lot of people that are successful in their professional life, their personal life, and they follow some similar patterns, which is why I want to talk about one of those patterns today and maybe give you the opportunity to apply some of the ideas and tips from some of these people to make sure that your pathway to success is maybe a little bit more secure than it was before you watched it. I am also going to admit that the ideas that I'm sharing with you today are not invented by me, but I have trialed them and I have seen some massive differences, and I would be really curious to hear your experiences too. When we think about our schedule, we have patterns that we fall into, and you've probably heard of the expressions the night owl, the early bird, or even more recently has dropped into natural conversation the permanently exhausted pigeon. You are usually one of the first two. I hope that none of you are the permanently exhausted pigeon. But you tend to find that either you're more productive in an evening or you're more productive first thing in the morning. And interestingly, I have noticed that within my own social circle, it tends to be that the men that I know are more productive first thing in a morning, and the women that I know tend to do better in an evening. Now, I haven't done any study into that as of yet, but that tends to be the pattern that I have seen, like I said, in my social circle. Maybe you could completely contradict it. The point I'm trying to make here is that there are peak times of productivity in everybody's life, and there are different factors and influences that lead you to understand what those points are. So whether it's because you have other commitments or whether it's because you just don't focus at a particular time, maybe it's that first thing in the morning, nobody in your house is awake yet, so you have more time to focus on what you want to focus on. Or perhaps it's the opposite. In an evening, less people are awake and therefore less distractions. When I was at university, I would happily work from 10 p.m. until 4 a.m., getting all of my assignments done in those 6 hours. I always seemed to be better off working when it was dark, when there were few people around, and my work seemed to be really good. However, as I've got older and my commitments have changed, that's simply not sustainable. What I'm going to talk to you about now is a book that is called The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod, which is where a lot of the ideas for this short video come from, and I would actively encourage you to have a look at this. This text came to me by chance, and I would love to talk to you about that. You'll have to meet with me in a corridor and ask. But I started reading it, and I have to admit there was a degree of skepticism. As I've mentioned before, my natural pattern was to work in an evening. I much preferred to write at night than I ever did during the day. There just seemed to be too much to do during the day. So when this started by suggesting that we do things before 8 a.m., I was already suspicious, and I was very reluctant to take the advice. But the more I read on, the more I realised that actually some of the people that this author was referring to, I had admired for a long time. And equally, the things that he was saying made sense, and that's very difficult to argue with. How do you argue with logic? So, Hal Elrod's advice is to make sure that you set your alarm 1 hour earlier than when you would normally wake up. Oh my goodness, that was a little bit of a shock because my day starts very early already. So the idea of setting it 1 hour earlier felt extremely unnatural. And on the first day I did this, the idea is that you give yourself short bursts of tasks to complete. And I'm not going to give too much away because I would highly recommend that you have a look at the book. but there was focus, there was dedication, and there was a clear outline of what you were going to be doing. Now, this start of your day with a mind of determination, productivity, and efficiency is incredible. You wake up without thinking blurry eyed, oh, I'd much rather stay in bed, because you've already got the things that you intend to complete within your time frame, within your consciousness. So you get up and you can engage in those. And equally, if you make that first hour of the day the time for you to do the things that you enjoy the most, it feels a little bit more exciting, and therefore you're less likely to resist it. One of the chapters in this book is called Why Did You Even Wake Up This Morning? And I just want to read a very short extract for you at this moment. Again, this is taken directly from the book, and again, I would encourage you to have a look at a copy. Bearing in mind, of course, I don't get any money for how many of these books sell. So it starts, why did you bother getting out of bed this morning? Think about that for a second. Why do you wake up most mornings? Why do you leave the comfort of your warm, cozy bed? Is it because you want to? Or do you delay waking up until you absolutely have to? If you're like most people, you wake up to the incessant beeping of an alarm clock each morning and reluctantly drag yourself out of bed because you have to be somewhere, do something, answer to someone. Given the choice, most people would continue sleeping. So naturally we rebel. We hit the snooze button and resist the inevitable act of waking up, unaware that our resistance is sending a message to the universe that we'd rather lie there in our beds unconscious than consciously and actively live and create the lives we say that we want. I think that short extract is really powerful because it engages with why are you doing something? What do you want to achieve? What's your long-term goal? And if you've watched any of the other videos I've put forward, that is something that I very much assign and endorse. Having a goal, what are you trying to get to? Your day-to-day college existence or your study revision is building you towards something. So make sure that when you think about those short, mundane tasks on your to-do list, when you're thinking about how to prioritize and make it important, what is it going to get you to do? What is it facilitating your journey? How is it going to drive you forward? So this last question, success or sleep, I understand the temptation in the moment to turn over, pull the covers over you, and nod back off. That, of course, is very appealing. But is it going to lead you to where you want to be in that moment? And bear in mind that the answer to that might be yes. You might need to give yourself a break. When I've told you about the revision schedules, I've talked about building in a lie-in and building in a break. And when you think about metacognition and when you think about healthy lifestyles, sleep is very important. So I'm not suggesting that you simply never sleep. It's not sustainable. But what I'm suggesting is that maybe even take a step tomorrow to set your alarm 10 minutes earlier. And then what one thing can you do that lasts no more than 10 minutes that's going to help you achieve your academic goal? It might be read an article. It might be listen to a TED Talk. It might be to organise your schedule for the day. Whatever that is, make sure that you give yourself a significant period of time in your schedule to make your end goal more real to you, more palpable. That's your challenge for today, and it's not a long one. Spend some time now reflecting. What are you going to do tomorrow that is going to take you that step closer to success? How are you going to make your time more valuable, more efficient, more effective in just that 10-minute gap? And it could be something tiny, but do that tiny thing often enough and they very quickly build up.